Okay, my name's Russell Bourne. I'm the manager of the computer lab at the Millen Computer Center, and also a lot of other labs here on campus, although by no means all of them. Oh yeah, definitely. I get tons of email. Use the web for research. Basically, those are probably the two biggies. I mean, basically, the internet's a slew of different computers spread around the world, um, and routers and networking equipment, um, and it's constantly evolving, so it's kind of hard to nail down exactly what it is. But as far as is it fast enough, I mean, it all depends where you are. If you're here on campus and wherever you're trying to attach to is someplace that has a really good connection like we do, then yeah, it's plenty fast. But again, there's so many variables in there, and depending on what you're trying to do, sometimes it's fast enough, sometimes it's not. We've done one thing we don't do in our, in my job, but a lot of people I work with are involved with setting up teleconferences and that kind of thing. And sometimes it works really well doing it over the internet, and other times it is a disaster. So there's so many variables there that it's hard to say whether it's fast enough. You never know till you test it, I guess. Well, I mean, it's definitely the ultimate communications medium, and it's in that regard, I think it's pretty amazing. Yeah, it can be dangerous, like anything, but it can be really powerful. I mean, I keep connecting with friends that I haven't talked to in 20 years now, thanks to Facebook and other stuff. So in that way, it's really fun. And then, just knowledge-wise, I can know nothing about something, and 20 minutes on Google, and you're not an expert, but you can at least know enough to discuss it. Network neutrality. Well, it depends on how you define it, but I'm assuming, well, I would define it, at least from what I've read, as when people talk about network neutrality, usually they mean that the service provider, like in Corvallis, Comcast, or Quest, doesn't treat packets from other service providers any differently than they treat their own, which is a great ideal. It's not always realistic. I mean, there are some cases where some things should have priority over other things. But then when you get down to like the president of AT&T, or maybe it was the chairman, I don't recall, saying that Google should be paying for the privilege of people being able to access Google over their network. That's, I think you're crossing way over the network neutrality line at that point. Well, in a perfect world, I think the net should be like another utility. I mean, the city provides water, and we all, pay a little bit. They don't make any big money on it. And you turn on your spigot, and water comes out. To me, it should be, yeah, yeah, exactly. If you want a bigger pipe, well, you can have a bigger pipe put in. To me, it should be the same kind of deal, where you basically just have, I mean, you just got a line run to your house that's connected to the internet, and you get whatever you want over it without having to pay, Quest or Comcast for what I feel is not very good service, in my experience anyway, and it's certainly not cheap. I would think, in looking, I mean, I, read a lot of internet forums and stuff, and people talk about, that live in Europe and live in Japan and Korea, and how much they pay there, and they're usually paying, plus with the currency exchange, it's, that's always changing.
Yeah.
But it seems like between $20 or $30 for a good, you know, 10 to, somewhere around 10 megabit connection seems like it would be reasonable. And I know I'm paying over 40 and getting, not even a megabit, so. But certainly, I mean, I don't have cable anymore. I watch the shows I want to watch. I watch over over the internet. Yeah, Hulu and the Netflix with the instant streaming works really well. And yeah, so and I think that's, it just makes sense. I mean, why pay a cable company to decide what you can watch when you should be able to just pull anything off the internet? Not necessarily for free. I mean, there's still, I could see there being some kind of subscription model, but you would be paying it to whoever produces it rather than to your internet provider. I have heard that in some places in the country they have done things to throttle down connections to other deals, and I can't come up with a specific example off the top of my head. Um, but I believe that has happened. I haven't heard of it happening in Oregon, but there is a law, and I should double check and make, but I'm pretty sure it did pass, where Comcast and Quest basically lobbied to have Oregon pass a law that says that municipalities can't create their own internet service providers. They have to use a Quest or a cable company. And certainly there's been other states that have passed similar laws. So even though they may not be throttling, they're definitely looking out for their their interests. Well, financially, I mean, pay a lot of money to the phone companies and the cable companies, and again, in my opinion, I don't think they're really delivering the performance they should be. So, I don't like to waste money. I don't know anyone else that does. And also, I think it's important if you want to be informed. I'd hate for my internet service provider to decide, well, I don't like the Huffington Post because it's too liberal, so I'm going to block that so that none of my customers can watch it. Again, I haven't heard that happening here, but I have heard in some places where all of a sudden websites are get really, really slow to the point that they're not usable, and it's because the local providers trying to block them out. And I mean, and certainly, China is, they don't even pretend that they're not doing it. I mean, they block all kinds of sites. So, they're kind of the poster child for non-net neutrality. So if you believe in freedom, you should believe in net neutrality.